You're listening to the Board Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dale Bannon with the Salvation Army National Headquarters, where we interview our most dedicated servant leaders, advisory organization members around the country who are rolling up their sleeves to help the Salvation Army grow and advance locally as well as nationally. It is my distinct privilege to welcome our very special guest, my good friend, Mr. Anil Kapoor, who is the Echelon Leadership Council Chair. Anil, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Dale. I'm ecstatic to be here and really excited for our discussion today.
Well, I think that would be the first place I would start. I know you very well. I've worked with you for the last several years. It's just exciting to watch your leadership with Echelon, which is growing all over the country. Before we get to Echelon, however, I'd love for you to tell us about yourself and your family, where you're from. Just give us a little background, our listeners a background on you.
Absolutely, Dale. And thank you again for having me. Really excited to be here. I'll tell you a little bit about kind of my family history. My father is first generation into the United States, originally from India. And my mother is originally from here in the United States. They met in Canada and started their lives together in California. And I'll tell you, that's where I was born and was raised for the first part of my life. And then we happened to be in the Northridge earthquake. And, I firsthand, right away, the impact that the Salvation Army can have in a community. And, our parents looked at a map and looked at a great education system, and they found Northern Virginia, the complete opposite side of the country. And so I grew up there, went to college in Southern Virginia at Old Dominion University. I now reside in Michigan with my wife, Andrea, who's a teacher, my daughter, Olivia, who is 5, who just started kindergarten, and expecting another daughter here in November. So we are ecstatic and very blessed.
Oh, fantastic. Congratulations on another one that you're expecting. How long have you lived in the Detroit area, Neil?
So we've been in Detroit for about the last 10 years or so. Really enjoy the summers, gotten used to the winters, but really enjoy being in a place in the Midwest that we get to really enjoy all the 4 seasons of the year for sure.
And currently your occupation, you work with Merrill Lynch and Bank of America. What drew you to your present work? What is your role there? Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I'll tell you, while I was in university, I always knew I was going to do something in finance. I was really interested, whether it be accounting or financial management for large corporations. And unfortunately, my father passed away unexpectedly while I was in college. And I saw firsthand the impact that losing a parent or watching my mom lose a spouse could have financially. Not only an emotional kind of impact, but also financial impact. My mother had two children in university at the time. She was working. She was counting on her spouse's income as well. And I knew immediately I would never want to see someone not be prepared for things that they can't expect. And I initially drew this affinity to personal finance. And so I had the opportunity to intern at Bank of America and Merrill while I was in college. And I had an opportunity to start my career there. And I've been very blessed to have a number of different roles throughout Bank of America and Merrill for the last 11 years. And I look forward to many more.
Fantastic. I was just curious as well in your journey, what led you to the Salvation Army? I know you were a part of the local Echelon chapter. Will you tell our guest about your experience with the Army?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you, originally, spent most of my life in Northern Virginia, Southern Virginia, kind of grew up throughout, just outside the Washington, D.C. area. I've had an opportunity to explore a number of different nonprofits and opportunity to really be involved in my community, throughout my life. And it was just something that was really important to my parents, something that was really important to, I would say, the communities and the groups that we were a part of. And it's hard to believe, but I had never been a part of the Salvation Army. And this would happen when I originally relocated from Washington, D.C. to Michigan. I met a colleague of mine, and she said, "Anil, a great way to get involved is I'd love to bring you out to a nonprofit that's near and dear to my heart." And she said, "I want to take you on what we call the bed and bread truck." And so she took me down to Detroit, Michigan, And I had the opportunity to be on a bed and bread truck. And essentially, what that is they provide food and services to the less fortunate 365 days a year, and is just something that the community really counts on. And when you go out and you see the impact that you can immediately have on people that need it, and an organization that has the means and the ambition to serve so many, it was something that I took away. And it was an entire day. It was morning to evening. Not only did I get a feel for the community I was part of, I drew a true affinity to an organization that I knew that I wanted to give back to for many years to come.
Oh, fantastic. I've been on that bed and bread truck program. And if I'm not mistaken, Detroit, the Salvation Army of Detroit is one of the largest food providers for people who need it the most. And what an inspirational program that is for so many living in Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an amazing program and something I look to continue to be part of.
So, from the Bed and Bread Club, you got hooked sort of with the Salvation Army ministry, and then an opportunity presented itself for you to serve in a different way. Talk to us about that bridge and how that came about.
Absolutely. I would say a few months after that initial ride on the bed and bread truck, there was conversation at the local advisory board around starting a chapter called an Echelon chapter. And there were few details about it. And it was really around focusing how do we mobilize the next generation of volunteers and fundraisers and talented individuals in the local community that could be drawn to the Army's mission and could be drawn to the things that happen. And I had an opportunity to have a couple of conversations with a couple of key stakeholders, not only with inside the Army, but also a part of the local advisory board. And after, I would say, a pretty robust process, I was fortunate enough to be offered the position to be the president for the Echelon chapter in Detroit. And my job was to create a board of individuals that were drawn to the mission of the Army and also had the hunger and the desire to do the most good and to help build out a board that could be really impactful for a demographic that we really wanted to touch. And that's really where I would say I got my start to really be able to roll up my sleeves and make an impact locally. And I had the opportunity to be the president of that chapter and do a lot of great things in the community for a couple of years.
So you're a founding member of Echelon in Detroit, and immediately became its chapter president. We don't take long. Doesn't take long to get you very active in the Salvation Army, does it?
No, not at all. And I'm very thankful for that because the Salvation Army has given me more than I've given it.
And Anil, for our listeners who are listening, many of them are advisory organization members. We have core officers from around the country, and we even have some folks who might be just hearing for the first time about the Salvation Army listening to this podcast. If you were just to tell us what you now have experience with a local chapter, I'll get to your national involvement here in a moment. If you could just tell us what it is that Echelon does, and specifically what does it do in a local community, and what's its role with the local advisory board in a local community.
Absolutely, Dale. When we think about Echelon, it has a couple of key purposes. Not only does it want to mobilize the next generation of leadership in our communities, not only does it want to share the mission of the Army with different demographics, not only of backgrounds, but also ages, but also have the opportunity to showcase what a true volunteer can be and also have impact across fundraising. And what we've done is really designed these chapters in key territories and key cities across the United States so we can draw more people into the impact that the Army has every day. It truly doesn't have a completely separate mission. All it does is has key priorities to really draw attention to a different demographic that, quite frankly, we really want to mobilize. And that's why we're looking for key stakeholders and key volunteers and all these different cities across the United States to help us continue to prepare and mobilize that next generation. Now, when I think about the impact that Echelon has in the local community, I would say a couple of key things that I've already said before. You're getting attention to young professionals in your local community that maybe have not been part of a nonprofit before or been part of volunteer work. So you're getting more engagement for a lot of key things that really matter to that local community. Not only are you probably most likely talking to very successful individuals that are also looking to provide resources, not only in the form of a number of volunteers and organizations that maybe don't have an affinity with the Salvation Army yet, but you're also getting just broad impact to a number of individuals you haven't had before. The last piece that you stated was what's the involvement with the local advisory board. Echelon is really there to be an extension of the local advisory board. Local advisory boards across the United States have a number of great infrastructure in place. And what Echelon can do is really work alongside the local advisory board, not only on the events they already have, but also draw in a number of individuals that maybe have not been engaged. And this can really be the starting point, not only from volunteerism, but also from fundraising as well.
Yeah, from my chair, I can tell you we know that volunteerism is at an all-time low. That's not only in the Salvation Army, it's in the nonprofit sector. We know that the average age of our donor continues to increase. And so mobilizing the next generation of supporters, volunteers, is a top priority here at national headquarters for the Salvation Army. So I believe that Echelon local chapters are one of the most important strategic initiatives we have. Already, we are seeing incredible work of advocates and ambassadors going into the workplace, recruiting peers, being a part of Salvation Army events. For the first time, we've had several chapters like yours, Anil, where we might have a donor event and we have all generations present. And that's in large part due to the Echelon work. And all these local chapters, I think we're getting close. I know we're in the 30s and 40 chapters around the country, growing to 50. You could talk about that here in a moment. But really, there's a direct connection to the National Advisory Board, and it's a group that we know as the Echelon Leadership Council. You're currently the chair of that council. Talk to us about what the role of the Echelon Leadership Council is. We affectionately know that as ELC around here. What their relationship is with the National Advisory Board, and what do they do to help local chapters?
Thank you so much, Dale, for highlighting the great work of the Echelon Leadership Council. This council was really made to support the growth of Echelon nationally. When we saw so many different communities, chapters, and territories really putting resources behind this initiative, we knew that consistency was going to be key. And we knew providing instant resources to chapters that were evolving and growing at such a high velocity was really important. And so we had the opportunity to found the Echelon Leadership Council, as you stated. And what this is made up of is individuals from representing all the territories that have had experience in Echelon of being different founding, I would say, chapter presidents, past presidents, individuals that have been really engaged in their community in the Army for many years, to really be on a board that helps provide a strong foundational infrastructure for all the growth that Echelon's having. So what does that really mean? That sounds great, but how do they really help support the territories? So what we've divided up across the Echelon Leadership Council is really defined roles and responsibilities, just as you would see on a local board. We have an individual that represents each of the different territories. We have some individuals working on growth projects and strategic initiatives. We have individuals that are looking to have ongoing connects down to each of the individual chapter presidents. So there's a lot of initiatives that these individuals are working on, and us as a group, our goal is to really provide support and infrastructure for wherever your chapter is. That could be a brand new chapter. That could be a chapter going through strategic changes based on life events of local leadership that you've had. That could be to provide support on a specific project or initiative. This group is here to provide sound advice and guidance and resources to allow your chapter to really blossom in your local community. And that's ultimately what we want to do. And as we continue to grow, we'll be looking for more individuals to continue to carry that work forward. And we're hoping to continue to provide the resources needed to really support all the great things that are happening across the country.
There's so much I could say because under your leadership, it's been what, about 4 years you've served as the chair of that group. Congratulations. I know your time is coming to an end as the chair of the Echelon Leadership Council, and having the ELC come alongside our National Advisory Board really has just been a win win on both sides. To have our National Advisory Board members sit in meetings with you, I know many of them serve as mentors to the ELC members. That level of engagement is just one that's been really awesome to watch. It's exciting to see their interaction. And Anil, I believe as well, your entire ELC have brought new innovative ideas to the Salvation Army through that interaction. And so I want to thank you for your 4 years of leadership. There's been so much that has been accomplished. I'm just curious as to, what are your hopes for Echelon as you come to the end of your term in leadership and you're about ready to hand off that mantle to a new ELC chair?
Yeah, Dale. First of all, thank you, and thank everybody at the Salvation Army for the opportunity to serve alongside. It has truly been one of the greatest gifts that I could ever have received, and it's been my honor and privilege to be part of it. And I look forward to continuing to be part of the Army locally for many years to come. I will tell you, when I think about what I wish for Echelon really moving forward is the continued growth. It is very hard to start something new, and there's always going to be new priorities and initiatives that are tasking everybody's community. But really investing in longevity is mission critical for the work that's being done today. For the work that's being done today, for that to be done tomorrow, we have to have more people engaged. We have to have more people that feel and touch the mission of the Army. And really, what I would love to see is us to continue to share the great opportunities that exist to be part of such an unbelievable organization that is uniquely positioned to support people and communities in just about every way possible. And the more ways that we can tell that story in more cities and more individuals to be involved, I know will only make the Army stronger, but also will make the world stronger. And that's what I really hope to see. And I will tell you this, the Echelon Leadership Council and the chapters across the United States are very well positioned and excited to continue to do the most good, even at a larger scale. And I have no doubt that the leadership that will be instilled will continue to do tremendous work and continue to break through glass ceilings and make an impact.
Well, you're leaving a legacy, and we'll celebrate more in our September Chicago board meeting, all the contributions you've made and through your leadership, Anil. So we certainly appreciate that. If I'm not mistaken, Merrill and Bank of America actually honored your work. I know that it's not easy to talk about when you've been given an accolade, but it was a win also for the Salvation Army. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about the award that you received recently in your workplace through your work with Echelon?
Thank you so much, Dale. I truly appreciate the highlight, and I truly accept that award on behalf of everyone that's part of Echelon across the country. Those are the individuals that truly deserve the recognition. I will tell you, the organization that I get to work for each and every day is really committed to doing amazing work in the communities, and that's not only with engaging employees to be part of things that they're passionate about and supporting organizations that they would like to sponsor. But I had an opportunity to be highlighted for the volunteerism that I had or that I've been a part of here at Echelon here at the Salvation Army, and they really wanted to highlight how impressive it was to be so correlated in investing in the next generation and being strategic in your approach and growing so many different chapters and being able to continue to tell the story of an organization that has such a rich history. So I had an opportunity to accept that award on behalf of everyone at Echelon, and I'm very, very humbled to have received that, but more importantly, really excited that I get to work at a company that supports involvement and community impact more than anything, because it's pretty special when work life and home life get to kind of intersect like that, because you become more drawn to what you're trying to accomplish, not only personally but professionally.
You're listening to the Board Matters podcast, where we highlight the Salvation Army's most dedicated board members and volunteers serving around the country every day. For more information about the Salvation Army, visit salvationarmyusa.org. If you're an advisory organization member and need resources for growing your local advisory organization or board, visit mysaboard.org or aohub.org. And now, back to the Board Matters podcast. Just a quick lightning round before we end with two a little longer thoughtful questions for you. So you grew up in the DC area, which is really the home of our national headquarters. I'm not sure, does your mom and your siblings still live in the DC area?
Yes, my mother and my sister still live right outside of the city. Yep.
Oh, fantastic. So if you had to name us a local place, restaurant, historical activity, what would you recommend to a visitor?
That is a loaded question, Dale, in a city that has so much history. I'm going to go with local activity. I would say the Natural History Museum and the Mint are two of my favorite things to do. I will tell you, you will have very long days and learn a lot, and you will not regret the time spent at those two places.
Fantastic suggestions. As someone who travels a lot, I can't keep track of your travel itinerary, Anil. What is one travel tip that you would recommend that would be helpful?
I would say two travel tips, because I think both these matter. One, they're both recommendations. One, get a bag that can go inside of every oversized or every overhead bin. There's bags that are made, some brands, I think Away and a couple of others, they fit in every plane size. So you never have to check your bag. So I'm saving you time there. And I'm going to save you more time. Get TSA pre-check and get clear, because if you have clear, you can go in front of the TSA pre-check line, and then if the clear line's too long, you can go back to TSA pre-check. So those are two very important travel tips that I would give that I think save time in both cases.
I agree 100%. I'm a TSA pre-check member as well as a clear member. And sometimes I have races with my colleagues who are only TSA pre-check. And occasionally they'll beat me, but most of the time the odds are on my side. So it's a great tip. And I have spent a lot of hours or minutes, I should say, stuffing a bag into that overhead compartment only to have them ask me to remove something. So I'm going to look more into that tip and get some of those company names from you. Favorite sports team and least favorite sports team?
Dale, you're not going to like my answer here, but I'm going to say Washington Commanders is my favorite sports team. Just a rich history, a lot of success, and rebuilding phase right now. So really excited for the new season. And I would say least favorite sports team.
Be careful, Neil.
I know I'm probably not going to get a lot of love of this in Detroit. Probably the Detroit Red Wings, because they beat the Washington Capitals. They swept them in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I think, in the late 90s, early 2000s. I don't think I ever quite got over that. So even though I'm in Michigan, I still have the representative of the Washington sports.
Yeah, so for everyone in Michigan, he's still a good guy. I thought for sure you were going to say the Dallas Cowboys, and I was going to make sure you said the Eagles. But yeah, I knew that the Washington football team was going to come up in this conversation. But You're very careful not to highlight anyone in the NFC East as your least favorite sports team. So I'll let you get away with that one. Do you prefer coffee, tea, or something else?
I actually don't drink coffee or tea, so I would go with water.
Okay, very good. I think that's a safe and healthy choice. You can eat anything you want tonight for dinner. What are you going to have?
I think I'm going to go with Indian food, and I'm going to say butter chicken and naan is my go to. So I think that's what I will go with.
That sounds great. Butter chicken's one of my favorites as well. What is one pet peeve you have in a business meeting?
I would say tardiness. I think everyone is busy, and I think when everyone is on time, they are committed to the cause. They are committed to the value of that interaction, and I would say timeliness is really important for me.
It's good, a very good pet peeve. It's one of mine as well. Anil, you've been a part of the Salvation Army for a good number of years now. You might even get an opportunity to meet our general of the Salvation Army at our National Advisory Board meeting in Las Vegas. I hope you'll join us for that. If you could be the general of the Salvation Army for one day, what would you do?
That is a very difficult question. First of all, I thank the general for all that he does and the work of his entire team. But I think I would spend the entire day thanking as many people that work for the Army as I possibly could. Because there is a lot of things that happen every single day. And tomorrow there's always going to be more. And sometimes it's hard to be thankful in the moment and remember all the things that happened each and every day. But if I could be the general for one day, I would want as many people that are part of the Salvation Army just to receive a moment of thanks because their work does not go unnoticed.
What a great answer. Often we forget to say thank you, don't we? So I think the general would take that advice in a heartbeat. And I know that he is a thankful leader for all of the soldiers, officers, employees, and especially our auxiliary members all across the world. And that includes our advisory board members, Echelon, Women's Auxiliary. We could not do it without people like you, Anil, and other advisory organization members around the country. I always end this podcast with a prayer. Is there anything I can specifically pray for you today, Anil?
I will always take the opportunity to pray for others. I would just ask if you could just pray for the continued growth of the Army in Echelon and continue to invite more individuals to be part of what we're doing and to hear our story and to feel, I would say, a sense of connectivity and then just overall, aspiration to continue to be part of this organization. That's what I would ask, and I know that's a big ask, but if you wouldn't mind, that would mean a great deal to me.
I'd be grateful. And with God, all things are possible. Let us pray. God, I thank you for this time and this Board Matters podcast with my friend Daniil. I pray a special blessing upon him and his family, for the new one that's about to arrive, Andrea and Olivia, who will join their incredible family. Just bless them. Pray for a safe arrival as well of their new daughter. I also pray for Anil and his work with the Salvation Army. We pray for you just to bless the Echelon leadership work, for you to continue to bless Anil as he leads the leadership council. I pray as he has requested for growth and advancement of this ministry. I pray that you'll continue to bring people to support our work, donors, advisory organization members, especially young professionals, to roll up their sleeves and to join our Salvation Army through volunteerism. Father, we need help now more than ever to advance your mission. And we make this prayer in the name of Christ. Amen. Well, Neil, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate your time today. You're listening to the Board Matters podcast, where we highlight our most distinguished servant leaders, our advisory organization members who roll up their sleeves and do the most good with us around the country and local Salvation Armies as well as nationally. Thank you, Anil, for your time. May God bless you.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you very much.